Hey there, listeners. Welcome to Relationship Hunt, where we uncover intriguing tales of love, heartbreak, and everything in between. With your host, Red. Stay tuned till the end for some valuable insights, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. I am feeling resentment towards my relationship and don't know what to respectfully tell my boyfriend. I feel confident in saying that I am unhappy in my relationship. We have been together for about 2.5 years and moved in together around 10 months ago. Our families get along well, but I am starting to resent the relationship. My boyfriend is wonderful and we have a lot in common. However, we haven't been intimate in months and I don't want to be. There are several things I dislike or hate about being in a relationship. Firstly, I feel obligated to give someone a part of my life. I also dislike the family obligations, such as spending holidays with his family instead of mine, or having to have monthly dinners with his parents. The pressure of intimacy in relationships stresses me out, even though he doesn't force me into it. I also don't want to prioritize the relationship or be constantly texting throughout the day. The expenses of living together are higher, and I don't consume as much as what we buy for groceries. I don't want to have to explain my bad days or always have to look great. I am too selfish with my own life to put in the effort that a relationship requires. There are also small things I don't enjoy, like having to watch TikToks or music videos that he likes. I also dislike losing my individual identity and being seen as part of a couple instead of my own person. I can't attend events without him being assumed to come along, and I have to hide my occasional smoking marijuana because he doesn't like it. The stress of being in this relationship is overwhelming, and I feel obligated to respond to his texts in a happy manner even when I don't feel that way. I do not hate him as a person, but I hate the circumstances of the relationship. The benefits of being in a relationship, such as financial help or having someone care for me, don't outweigh the stress and unhappiness I feel. Our lease ends in 6 months, and we have an upcoming wedding to attend together. If given the option, I would choose to be single without any complications. The thought of committing further to this relationship only increases my stress. I have felt similar doubts before, but I am now back on my antidepressants. I know that my boyfriend deserves someone who doesn't feel this way, and I deserve to be happy instead of wasting my youth in an unhappy relationship. I am unsure of how to approach this situation without sounding selfish. My therapist advised me not to worry about how others perceive me. Should I discuss this with him sooner rather than later? I know deep down that it cannot continue if I am this unhappy. It sounds like you're really struggling with the obligations and expectations that come with being in a long-term relationship, and it's causing you a lot of stress and unhappiness. It's definitely not easy to navigate these feelings, especially when you still love your partner. If being single is something you truly desire and it outweighs the benefits of the relationship, it might be worth having an open and honest conversation with your boyfriend about your feelings. It's important to prioritize your own happiness and not worry too much about how you may be perceived. Am I being too nice? A few years ago, around 2021, I met and became friends with a girl at work. We had a great connection and would talk for hours about anything, even outside of work. She was going through a tough breakup at the time and I was there for her, offering support and listening to her. I started to develop feelings for her, even though I knew I shouldn't. I felt a strong connection and believed she could be the one I had been searching for. We spent a lot of time together, going out to eat or just hanging out. I soon confessed my feelings to her and attempted to date her, but she saw me only as a friend and nothing more. After a few months, she chose someone else over me. I tried to maintain our friendship, but it was difficult because I had crossed a boundary. I also sensed that she was trying to distance herself from me, spending less time replying or talking to me at work. I was understandably hurt by what happened, but I decided to slowly distance myself from her in order to heal from the pain. I felt depressed and defeated because it was the first time I had feelings for someone like this. My friends reassured me that I would get over it, but it would take time. It did take a while, but I eventually refocused on myself and my career. I left that workplace and found a better opportunity elsewhere. I stopped talking to her and prioritized my own growth. I tried dating other people, but it didn't feel right, so I stopped pursuing that. Fast forward to December 2023, she reached out to me and suggested hanging out since it had been a while. Without thinking, I agreed, and we met up. While we were eating, I could sense that we both had something we wanted to ask each other. I couldn't help myself and asked about her recent relationship, and she mentioned that they had broken up. Hearing that reminded me of how we first met, right after her previous breakup. We went to a cafe and caught up on each other's lives. It was a bit awkward as the atmosphere was romantic with other couples around. We talked for a while and then went our separate ways. Before parting, we hugged, and I mentioned that she should let me know if she wants to hang out again. I know I probably shouldn't have said that because I'm afraid I'll end up being the rebound once again if we start talking. How can I avoid this situation? It's natural to feel cautious about getting involved again, especially if you're worried about being a rebound. Trust your gut and take things slow. Set boundaries and communicate your concerns with her openly and honestly. Don't be too hard on yourself for agreeing to hang out. Sometimes we give people second chances, but remember to prioritize your own emotional well-being. I want to scream at my mother-in-law. Talk me down, what do I do? I am an American currently living in a foreign country with my wife, who is from this country. We have different perspectives, opinions, and ways of doing things, but I am trying to remain open-minded and respectful. I met my wife on the internet during the pandemic, and we connected immediately. I've never felt understood by anyone else like I do with her. Our relationship has been amazing for both of us. However, her family is a different story. They can be difficult people. They consider themselves superior to others based on their music preferences, interest in art, and knowledge of trivial information. They have even expressed that a specific music genre in this country is solely for the lower class, and a TV show is only watched by unintelligent people. While I personally don't care about these things because I am unfamiliar with them, it illustrates their tendency to be judgmental and dismissive. They also look down on a minority population in the country and blame them for various problems. Before we met in person, my wife would often share instances where her sister or mother treated her poorly. For example, her sister knowingly prepared food with ingredients my wife couldn't consume, possibly to spite her. These situations caused my wife stress, anxiety, and emotional anguish. She would come to me distressed, seeking solace. Another example is when there was no food my wife could eat because her mother hadn't made any suitable alternatives. I seem to focus on food-related examples, but you understand the gist. Now that I am in the country, every time we visit her family's house, my wife is involved in a conflict with either her sister or mother. Without fail, shortly after we arrive, she expresses regret for coming or wishes we hadn't visited. There have been other instances where her family has caused problems for us. Their words and views greatly affect my wife due to their close relationship. However, something happened last week that takes the cake. My wife and I were going to sign a contract for an apartment for the both of us. Until now, we have been staying in temporary accommodations, which have been expensive and chaotic. This apartment would be our first permanent home together after months of temporary solutions. The night before meeting with the realtor, her parents called my wife. Although I do not speak their language fluently, I could sense that something was wrong. It turns out they advised her to cancel the contract and return home to live with them, with or without me. This phone call sparked a huge fight between us, and my wife even considered leaving me that night. Their concern was financial, despite the fact that I have been covering most of our expenses since we met. Now that their daughter is taking some responsibility, they worry about being legally responsible for the apartment's rental payments. What does this say about their view of our marriage? I feel betrayed and unable to put my emotions into words. In contrast, my parents have been incredibly supportive of us, while her parents are terrible in comparison. I had previously sent her money for the apartment's down payment, but due to her parents' words, she returned it to me. Now, I am having difficulty sending her the money again, as one of our accounts may have been flagged for suspicious activity. Consequently, my wife has to dip into her savings to cover the full amount, instead of us splitting the cost. Ironically, her parents' actions had the opposite effect of what they intended. Apparently, they do not view my gig job as a real job, even though I made as much or more money last year than any of my wife's family or friends. I suspect her mother feels ashamed to tell others that I am currently not employed, for some reason. In truth, I may have earned far more money than her last year. I am simply pursuing this side gig while learning new skills and exploring a potential career change, something my wife is aware of. The behavior of her parents drives me crazy. I consider myself laid back, but I am tempted to confront them and vent my frustrations. I want to explain how their actions are interfering with our family's future, and they should consider themselves lucky that I restrain my anger. Words fail to express how I truly feel. What should I do about these people? It's definitely tough when your partner's family doesn't seem to be supportive or understanding. I can understand why you would feel betrayed and angry, especially with the money situation. Maybe it would be worth having a calm and honest conversation with your wife about how her parents' behavior is affecting you both and coming up with a plan together. Good luck. My husband continues to tell me that my work problems are my own fault. My husband continues to put the blame on me for my work problems. We have been married for 12 years and together for 13. In the past 3-4 years, I have been struggling with our relationship because of his temper and criticism. It got to the point where I even considered divorce and consulted with lawyers. We are currently in counseling, working on our issues, but this problem has resurfaced. I am unsure if I should let it go or address it in therapy. Recently, my husband has started acting as if he always knows better than me. It could be as trivial as criticizing my habit of sitting in the dark with natural light in the morning while making coffee, or it could be more significant, like telling me I am wrong for selling my inherited land. These comments usually arise when I express my preferences or inner thoughts. For instance, I would say, I prefer to wake up gradually with natural light rather than turning on many lights, and I can see well enough to turn on the kettle. He would respond by saying I cannot see anything in the dark, even though it is morning and we have many windows. For small matters, I usually ignore it and let it pass to avoid argument. However, when it comes to something substantial, it becomes a problem. Specifically, my boss retired last year, and my husband was upset that I did not apply for the position. Initially, I explained that I was content with where I was in my career and did not believe I was qualified to be in charge of an entire institution. I am skilled at my job, but there are aspects of that position that I have not experienced and do not wish to pursue. I conveyed my thoughts reasonably and calmly, assuming that was the end of it. Weeks later, he brought up how I had given up on my career, and since I had reached my limit, I should not object to relocating if we needed to take care of his mother. After recovering from the shock, I reiterated that I did not want my boss's job, and I lacked the qualifications even if I wanted it. I explained that declining the position did not imply I had given up on my job. Additionally, I pointed out that I was the only staff member on the search committee, at my boss's request, because she trusted my judgment in helping the board select a new candidate. If I applied for the position, I would have removed myself from the search committee, leaving the staff without representation. Furthermore, I genuinely did not want the job. He endlessly argued with me, calling me lazy and fearful, insisting it made no sense not to try. He claimed that I could successfully handle the job if I genuinely desired it, and I would always regret not attempting it. I stood my ground and reiterated my reasons. Eventually, I implored him to trust my capability to make decisions and to respect my choices. He agreed but stated that I should not expect him to offer work-related advice in the future. The hiring process continued, and our board ultimately chose a candidate from a related field over a highly qualified candidate from our own field. In the preliminary round, the board dismissed a qualified internal candidate, reasoning that they wanted fresh perspectives and disapproved of hiring from within. The candidate from our own field was not chosen because they resembled the existing employees too closely. It was as if an accounting firm refused to hire an experienced accountant as its leader solely because the person was too accountant-like. Instead, they appointed someone from the banking sector who lacked accounting experience. Whenever I expressed frustration with the hiring process or my doubts about recruiting from outside the field, my husband would point out that none of this would be an issue if I had applied for the position. It became so distressing that I completely stopped discussing work altogether. Since starting therapy, our counselor has encouraged me to assert my needs and emotions clearly to my husband and not to prejudge his reactions. I have been attempting to be more open. Last week, I became upset with something our new boss did, equivalent to an accounting firm leader instructing everyone to worry less about numbers. I vented my frustration to my husband. Despite informing him that I was merely venting and did not require a solution, and despite being aware of how frustrated I become when he brings up the topic of my application, he stated, "If you had applied, this wouldn't be an issue." I remained calm and chose to let it go, even though I wanted to shout at the top of my lungs. Tonight, we have another therapy session, and I am contemplating bringing up the issue. However, I feel as though I have spent nearly a year explaining why it bothers me, yet he continues to view it as me being scared and stubborn about my job, unwilling to heed his advice. I have acknowledged his faith in my abilities and his belief that I would excel in the position, but what I truly need is his respect and support for my decision. Should I address this matter again in couples therapy, or should I give up and work with my personal therapist to reach a point where his actions no longer bother me? I think it's definitely worth bringing up again in couples therapy since it seems to be a recurring issue that affects your relationship. It's important for your husband to understand that his constant reminders about your work decisions being your fault are hurtful and undermining. Letting your therapist mediate the conversation may help provide a safe and neutral space for you both to express your perspectives and find a resolution. My girlfriend of 4 years came out as asexual. What can I do to improve our relationship? We are each other's first partners in everything. At the start of our relationship, we were very physical with each other. However, she later admitted to faking all of her orgasms, which led to a decrease in our sexual activities. I made an effort to learn how to make her orgasm and eventually succeeded. We continued to engage in sexual activities occasionally. At some point, she confessed that she mostly watched lesbian pornography. Furthermore, she admitted that while engaging in sexual activities with me, she sometimes thought about other girls, including people we both knew. This made me question her sexuality, as she was unsure whether she was lesbian, bisexual, heterosexual, or even asexual. She also mentioned that seeing me naked or my penis did not arouse her. As a result, I began feeling inadequate and doubted my sexual attractiveness. We discussed this issue, and recently she assured me that she is not attracted to girls and that her thoughts were influenced by porn. Throughout our relationship, we have had penetrative sex only a few times. Last year, we had very little sexual activity, maybe only a couple of times. During a conversation one night, she expressed that she is almost certain she is asexual, but still enjoys having sex with me. We talked more and agreed that I should initiate sex, and she would likely be willing to engage in it. The problem is that I feel like she will never initiate sex, and that she does not genuinely desire me sexually. While she is happy in our relationship, it seems like she is willing to do anything, even pretend to enjoy sex, to avoid a breakup. She expressed concern about me breaking up with her due to her asexuality. I have a high sex drive, and have been trying to initiate sex more often. However, during the last attempt, she seemed uninterested, so we did not proceed. Now I feel insecure about initiating, fearing rejection or that she will reluctantly agree. It is also worth noting that she is taking antidepressants and birth control. Ironically, we have never had sex without using a condom. In summary, my girlfriend recently revealed that she identifies as asexual. I worry that she does not desire me sexually, despite liking me as a partner. It feels like she will do whatever it takes, including pretending to enjoy sex, to avoid a breakup. Sorry to hear you're going through this. It seems like your girlfriend's sexuality is causing some confusion and uncertainty in your relationship. Communication is key here, so it's important to have an open and honest conversation about your needs and concerns. Additionally, exploring other forms of intimacy and finding ways to connect beyond sex might be helpful. Ultimately, it's up to you to decide what you're comfortable with, and if this situation is sustainable for you in the long run. My boyfriend is flirting with my sister. 2 nights ago, Saturday night, my boyfriend, 30, and I, 29, went over to my sister's, 26, house to hang out with her and her fiancé, 30, drink beer, and play card games. After a couple of hours, my sister's fiancé asked my boyfriend to speak privately, so they walked away to another room. I tried to ask my sister what was going on and told her to turn off her music so I could hear. When we did that, the door closed, and I wasn't able to figure out what was going on. I asked my sister what was happening because she looked really concerned, and she started to tell me that my boyfriend has been acting weird the last few times we have been over. Right at that moment, the guys came out, so we didn't get to talk, but I felt so awkward that I wanted to go home. We all said our goodbyes, and once we got in our vehicle, I asked my boyfriend what all that was about. He asked me what my sister and I talked about, and I said nothing because she didn't get to talk to me. He told me that the fiancé wanted to speak with him because my sister told him that he had been trying to play footsie with her under the table. My boyfriend apologized to the fiancé and clarified that he didn't mean to touch her feet and that he stretches his legs out quite a bit, but never intended to touch hers. We were quiet for most of the night afterwards. The next morning, Sunday, we were supposed to go into town and hang out with them, but I felt so weird that I let my sister know that I didn't sleep well and would likely just stay home. I let her know that I wanted to call her soon to talk. I informed my boyfriend that I was going to call my sister because I really needed to hear her side, so I left my house to walk down the street and FaceTime her. I asked her what was going on because it had been driving me crazy since last night. She told me she's really been wanting to tell me, but she didn't want to ruin the dynamic and was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. However, ever since they were over on Christmas, he has been acting weird with her. After dinner, we all came to the living room to have my nieces open up their Christmas gifts. I was close to the tree as I was passing gifts out to the kids. My boyfriend was sitting in a chair facing towards the tree with one of my grandmas next to him, while my sister was sitting on the floor in front of him. My sister said that when she was sitting there, my boyfriend kept saying sexy over and over again, like he was saying it louder and louder trying to get her to hear, but she kept ignoring it. She said that he rubbed his toes onto hers. After that night, we have been over to her house 2-3 times playing card games, drinking beer, and he continues to touch her feet with his under the table. She told me that is why she gets up from the table so much while we are hanging out. She tried to move her legs up and away from him, but he kept doing it. So last night when we were over there, the fiancé was sitting on the couch, and at some point, he asked my sister if he was doing it again, to which she responded that he was. This is why the fiancé pulled him to the other room to talk. My sister said that she finds him looking at her more often. My boyfriend and I have been together for a little over 7 years now, and she said he has never acted this way towards her until the last few weeks. She does not want me to be disrespected as her sister. I told her I wasn't sure what to do because on one hand, I thought this man is going to be my husband, the father of my kids one day, but I do not see how we can resolve this. How do I move on past my man not only being attracted to my sister, but actually trying to act on it? I went back inside to tell my boyfriend what she said, and he continued to say that he didn't mean to touch her feet, and as far as the sexy comment goes, if he said it, it was directed to me, not my sister. He tells me that he feels really embarrassed and hates that he made her feel uncomfortable. He insists that he's not attracted to my sister. I'm just not sure what to believe. I have never seen him staring at my sister and never thought he was attracted to her in that way, but I cannot ignore how she feels. She wouldn't lie to me about something like this. I asked her if there was any chance this was just one big misunderstanding. She responded, I don't want this to be weird for anyone and really do want to believe that it was a misunderstanding. But I don't think it was. I wouldn't have mentioned it if I didn't think it was a problem. I love you so much and consider him family too. He's never given off any weird vibes until now. I just want to make sure he's showing you the respect you deserve. That's where I am at with everything. I've been crying since I found out. The thought of us breaking up, me moving out and taking my pets, leaving the life I thought we would have together is breaking me apart into a million pieces. But can I stay in a relationship with him? Knowing he finds my sister attractive in that way, the trust feels broken, and I don't know how to repair our relationship at this point, or if we even can. Wow, that sounds like a really tough situation. It's understandable that you're feeling confused and hurt right now. It's important to listen to your sister's side and take her feelings into consideration. Trust is a vital foundation in any relationship, and it's up to you to decide if you can rebuild it with your boyfriend. Take some time to reflect on what you truly want and communicate openly with him about your concerns. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.